Well, the time is just gone 8:46 as we continue with the broadcast and taking a look ahead at World Humanitarian Day. Now, the interview we tried to play out earlier this morning, and that was with our very own Salailo Makudiri with Hafiz Imraan Choonara, AMA, and we're going to play that out right now. So take a listen or take a look on some of the media channels that we have for you this morning.
Few humanitarians, people who run humanitarian organizations. And the first one to join us is African Muslims Agency's Hafiz Imraan Choonara. Assalamu alaikum, Brother Imran. Thank you for giving us your time.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Sabelo. And obviously, thanks for having me here as well. And thanks to the listeners of Salam Media. Welcome to all of you. It's always good to be with you guys on Salam Media.
Yeah, I think always good to have you talk to us, and I think let's just jump right into it. I think in South Africa, in the spaces that we normally operate as yourselves and us, I don't think you can mention the word humanitarian and not mention African Muslims Agency. You guys have become so synonymous with the word. Just maybe you can break it down for us, maybe for those that don't know or for people that are overseas, just a brief history of AMA and the work that you guys do.
See, African Muslims Agency, I think a lot of people know by now, started about 35 years ago, almost 36 years ago right now, in 1987. And my late dad, Allah yarham, together with Dr. Abdurrahman Sumaid, started the African Muslims Agency here in South Africa and grew it throughout Africa, actually, in many, many countries, of course. And to be honest, I mean, so for 35, 36 years now, African Muslims Agency is focused on many, many projects. One of them being water projects, where we develop over 1,500 water wells and boreholes per annum in villages in Africa. Of course, we do winter projects. Of course, we do Ramadan feeding, where millions and millions of meals are being fed throughout the Ramadan time, of course, in many, many countries. I think the last year was over 21 different countries that we fed Ramadan meals, for example. But interestingly, Sabelo, one of the policies of African Muslims Agency, or the approaches, has been sustainability and long-term sustainability. Because often, there's two different types of humanitarian work, if you want to call it. There's disaster relief and there's long-term sustainability. So when a disaster strikes somewhere in the world, there's organizations that respond to disaster relief, and that's really, really needed at that time. And there are many organizations who do amazing work at disaster relief. And yes, AMA is one of those organizations, but our real forte or expertise really is in long-term building of communities, sustainable building of communities, like in Somalia, like in Mozambique, Malawi, South Africa, Lebanon, refugee camps in Lebanon, in Afghanistan, for example, in Syria and Palestine, all these countries where there's struggle and strife and conflict and poverty, of course. In Africa, often it's not maybe conflict that creates the poverty, but it's of course economic poverty over decades, if not longer, that have been affecting people. And you know what it's like, and I know what it's like living in South Africa. And of course, there's villages in South Africa that suffer immense poverty. So AMA, as an organization, yes, we have 2 schools as well. Well, actually 3 schools now, alhamdulillah, with a new one just starting in January. So we have 3 schools called the Aman School of Excellence. We have hundreds of orphans that are being sponsored in refugee camps in Africa and in Afghanistan. We have, so there's many programs. We have women hygiene programs, what we call a BU campaign. We have regular feeding every single week somewhere in the country, in South Africa, whether it's in Gauteng, in KZN, in the Western Cape, in Newcastle, in Port Elizabeth, or whatever the case is. There's feeding going on and relief efforts all the time going on. Yes, so it's a holistic organization, alhamdulillah. And of course, we're grateful, firstly, to Allah for being able to inspire us to be able to do what we do with wisdom and humility. And of course, Allah brings the donations. Allah inspires the people to donate to projects that African Muslims Agency does around the world.
No, you broke it down really well there. World Humanitarian Day, for you personally, what does the day mean to you? What does it? What's the first thing that comes to your mind when you hear World Humanitarian Day on a personal level?
Sabelo, I hesitate when it comes to stuff like this for the simple reason that number one, yes, I know that we mark certain days in the year, whether it's Women's Day, whether it's World Humanitarian Day, whether it's certain days of the year we mark to to recognize and celebrate and honor, I suppose, that group of people in society, for that matter. However, here's my perspective on this. My perspective is clearly this: that any human being who feels the need in their heart or the desire in their heart to help another human being, regardless of their race, nationality, ethnicity, culture, religious background, whatever the case is, that is a humanitarian. That's a true humanitarian. So you don't have to be in the humanitarian space to be called a humanitarian. You could be a radio presenter and you could be a humanitarian. You could be a doctor, lawyer, truck driver, teacher, engineer. It doesn't matter who you are. If you have the desire in your heart and you're willing to help another human being, and this is important, regardless of their race, nationality, religious background, ethnicity, culture, whatever, you're a true humanitarian because you help another human being without any judgment or bias if they are in need. Now, what does it mean to me? You asked me that question. To be honest, for me, I'm just humbled. I'm incredibly, incredibly humbled because, to be honest, I don't know if someone wakes up in the morning and says, I'm going to choose to be a humanitarian. Like, that's a bit odd. It's a bit like weird. You'd get up and say, okay, I'm going to choose to be a humanitarian. It's either within you as a passion, as a calling, so to speak, or it's not. Because you can't say, well, I'll choose to be a humanitarian, I'll choose not to be. It's either you look at something in need, someone in need, some situation in need, and you feel it in your heart, and you feel a pulling, a calling to do something to help another human being, or to help humanity or the environment, or whatever the case is. And that calling drags you to do it. And that's only inspired by our Creator, of course. So I don't feel like it's, oh, you wake up and you choose to be a humanitarian. No, you are, because it's in your heart. It's not today will I be, tomorrow won't I be. No, it's who you are because Allah has inspired us to be able to do that. So I feel incredibly humbled that our Creator has blessed me with the opportunity to use me benefit fellow humanity, because he doesn't need me. He doesn't need you. He doesn't need any one of us to help another human being. Allah, our Creator, could help another human being without us. But when he chooses us to allow us to be part of that process, in the process, we earn his blessings and his mercy in the process.
No, Jazakallah so much. You put it so well. I have 3 quick questions that I want you to answer as quick as you can. We run out of time a bit. So I hope you're ready. They're quick fire questions. You don't have to think a lot. Just answer top of your head, right? All right. First question. At what point did you realize you wanted to be involved with humanitarian work?
From the time I was a kid, because my father took me back in the days of apartheid into Soweto when we were not allowed to go there. And I was a kid and he was helping other people and I was hanging around him. And I started loving the process of just being with other people and seeing people inspired. So from a kid, that was just something was in me and it's always been within me, alhamdulillah.
Second question. What keeps you going? What keeps you motivated as a humanitarian? You see a lot of really disturbing things across the world. What keeps you motivated? You're big on motivation.
And that's a really good question, frankly, because every single day when I wake up, for me, it's high energy, it's passion, it's focus, it's enthusiasm. What keeps motivated? You're right. I see so much around the world. I see so much struggle and strife, and yet I see so many other people have so much goodness and barakah, for that matter. But honestly, Sabelo, every single day when I wake up, I just got to think about Allah's woken me up one more day today, which means I can't decide when I'm going to die. But if I'm alive, it means my job's not done. It means, and the same with you. If you're alive today, your job's not done. And if my job's not done, what am I supposed to do in this world? Surely I'm supposed to benefit either the animal kingdom or the environment or humanity. If I'm not benefiting one of those 3 aspects in some way, then I'm being a selfish human being and liability to the earth.
Last question. Your biggest heart-wrenching moment, a moment that will always stay with you from anywhere across the world where you went to do humanitarian work, and there's that one image or that one thing that will always stay with you for the rest of your life.
I went through trauma as a child. 5 years old, I had something really, really happen to me personally, and interestingly enough, Allah plans in mysterious ways. I think I'm serving other people. So I go to a refugee camp in Lebanon just about 3 years ago now, which would have made it. I was 46 years old 3 years ago. So from 5 years old, it's 41 years later. I'm sitting in a refugee tent with a young girl and her family, and a situation happens and if we had time, we'll discuss it another time. But I'm just sharing with the viewers right now and the listeners, a situation happens in that tent that I could not control my emotions, and I completely broke down emotionally, because it's interesting enough how Allah used that situation to heal me from something I experienced when I was 5 years old, and I didn't know that I actually still had that within me, that pain. And sitting in that camp, in that tent, something happened at that time, which if we had more time, I'll explain it, but not today. And I sat there and I just could not control the tears. And for me, it will always be a memory for me, because it shows me the power of our Creator, how He can bring situations in your life that can actually, you think you're serving another human being, but in the process, you are being served as well. And it's incredibly humbling.
No, thank you so much, Hafiz. Really, really enjoyed talking to you. Always a pleasure having you on our airwaves.
Sabelo, thank you so much for having me on. And of course, once again, to the listeners of Salam Media, please continue doing the amazing, amazing work you guys do, Sabelo. May Allah bless you guys.
Jazakallah so much. Welcome, salam.